has suddenly caught everyone's fancy, and everyone has started talking about it, and it has entered the public, debate or dialogue, primarily because of one reason, and that is the Adani-Hindenburg controversy. Sometime last year, Hindenburg published a so-called research report, a proprietary research report, and based on that, they had claimed that they had carried on a series of research and investigations on various Adani Group entities, and they alleged that there were severe corporate governance lapses. They also alleged some serious violations of several Indian laws of other countries as well. The entire report was humongous, and what was even more humongous was the impact it had on Adani stocks and on the stock market as a whole. As you all may have known, at one point of time last year, Adani Group was worth several hundred billions, and Mr. Adani himself was worth more than 100 billion, and he was at one point of time even briefly the second richest person in the world. So from that position, this report caused so much of carnage in the stock market value of all Adani company stocks that the group's market cap reduced dramatically, and arguably, apart from the promoter Adani family, a lot of other shareholders suffered too because of the carnage caused by the Hindenburg report. Now, 1 year on, while on the stock markets and stock prices side, it seems to have come back to where they started, almost near where they were last year prior to the Hindenburg saga. The dispute, I think, is far from over. The latest development in the Hindenburg saga, as you all may have seen in the papers, is that the SEBI has sent a set of questions to the Hindenburg group with respect to the whole affair. And the SEBI has pretty much sent a show cause notice, which Hindenburg is legally required to respond to. And strangely or interestingly, Hindenburg has chosen a very aggressive way to respond to the whole situation, which again, some of you who are following the papers will have seen. Hindenburg has turned taken the bull by its horns, so to speak, on the SEBI show cause notice, and taken the aggressive approach of alleging a political witch hunt and of saying that there were other people who benefited from it and so on and so forth. They also went on to make the point that they actually did not make much money out of that shorting Adani stocks. Proponents of it and champions of short selling claim that these short sellers are actually doing a public service by exposing the underbelly of some of the supposed corporate stars, and by doing that they claim that they are making the public aware of some of the rot in the corporate system that they otherwise do not get access to. That's one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is those who do not support it and who say that this is not necessarily a public service. You are gathering information which you keep to yourself, and you cause tremendous destruction of value by destroying the fortunes of the very same public. My personal view is that short selling can sometimes be a good check on corporate misconduct and corporate lack of transparency. But more often than not, even in the Western markets, what has played out is that the short sellers are nothing but opportunists who have made a lot of money. Arguably, some of them have unearthed some big scandals. But whether those scandals cleaned up the system or wiped out inexplainable amounts of wealth for public shareholders and institutional shareholders is up for debate. And obviously, one needs to clean up the system if there is rot in it. But the question is the best way to do it to suddenly announce a report and cause a rapid carnage in the stock price, while the person who has released the report itself is benefiting from such fall? To me, fundamentally, that reeks of conflict of interest. So to me, it has always seemed like short selling is something that can arguably have some benefits in some limited circumstances, but more often than not, it is fundamentally driven by greed of another sort. The short sellers all claim that they are dealing with a movement. They almost sound like they are some freedom fighters or something like that, who are there to restore some corporate accountability in listed companies. Well, that could arguably be true for a small fraction of them. History shows that a majority of short sellers are primarily in it to make money, to make potloads of money by taking a contrarian bet on very popular stock, by using information that is not available to the public shareholders, and by releasing the report. That's what I mean by conflict of interest. They have an interest. They have a report which gives them certain material, non-public information, as they call it in the US, or in the Indian we call it UPSI, which is unpublished price-sensitive information. Now, these people have some UPSI, which they have acquired, and they may have acquired it through their own investigative toil or by spending money. It doesn't matter. Now, the point is that they are placing these short bets on these companies, which essentially means that they are going to make money and become very rich if the companies they are targeting tank. And then they release the report, which kind of ensures that they tank. So, does that sound like saving the world to you? To me, it sounds more like self-serving greed on one side. But like I said, there are always two sides to the story, and there are certain, short-selling researchers who are arguably more principle-driven and are doing it for exposing corporate greed. I think one way to therefore, address this is, I'm not saying that, this kind of short-selling activity should be completely stopped. I'm not even saying that, investigative reports should be discouraged. In fact, I'm a huge believer in corporate accountability, and I will be the last person to say that any research report that investigates and reveals corporate misconduct of any sort, whether it is a securities law violation, whether it is, anti-money laundering violation, whether it is some political corruption issue, whatever it may be, I think there has to be a space for corporate researchers and for them to publish a report. I don't have a problem with that side of the equation. My objection is primarily to the other side of the equation, where the same people who are conducting these research are either themselves placing short bets against the companies that are the subject matters of the research, or they are selling the research to a select group of institutional parties who are benefiting from that research just before it's released. So therefore, that conflict of interest is what I have a problem with, because it's not just conflict of interest, it is insider trading in my view. It could be insider trading because you have UPSI, you're not supposed to trade on it. So yes, arguably you can say I'm not an insider, but in in India, certainly under the definition of insider and insider information, this would get categorized because you have certain information. You may not be management, you may not be an insider in that sense, but you are in the same position as an insider because you've got that information, even through your own research. And if you trade on that benefit, or if you sell that report and help others trade on that benefit and make a gain by shorting that stock and benefit from that shorted stock going down, that to me is a very, very high level of insider trading and stock market rigging. These are very strong terms I'm using, and some people will not like it, but it is what it is.